Okay, when you hear the words India's Republic Day, what pops into your head? For most of us, it's the incredible parades, right? The fly pasts, the big celebrations. But what if I told you that behind all that spectacle is a wild story of brutal debates, last-ditch compromises, and a monumental effort that almost fell apart? Well, today we are pulling back that curtain.
And that quote, that's really the heart of this whole thing. This wasn't just about kicking out the old rulers. It was a declaration of complete, total independence of thought. It was India saying, hey, we don't just want freedom from you. We want the freedom to decide for ourselves who we're going to be. It's about drawing up a new destiny from page one.
So let's dive into what's really going on. Because what we see as a day for a parade is actually the climax of one of the most incredible political dramas of the 20th century.
Right, let's get one thing straight right off the bat.
Independence Day, August 15th, was about getting freedom from British rule, breaking the chains. But Republic Day? Oh, that's about the freedom to do something. The freedom to build a nation, to govern ourselves, to write our own rulebook. One is the end of an old story, the other is the beginning of a brand new one.
And to start that new story, India needed a rulebook. And the job of writing it? Well, it turned into one of the most ambitious projects you can imagine. And it all happened, for the most part, behind closed doors.
Let's walk through this timeline because it's so important. So, 1947. India's free, but honestly, it's chaos. There's no real system in place. So, for almost 3 years, this group called the Constituent Assembly just grinds it out. Now, why'd they pick January 26th? It wasn't just some random date. It was a powerful nod to 1927 when the dream of Purna Swaraj, or complete independence, was first declared on that very day. They were connecting the dream of freedom with the reality of self-rule. It was pure genius. Now, don't picture some quiet, dusty library with a bunch of scholars politely nodding at each other. No way. The assembly was a pressure cooker. It was packed with brilliant minds clashing over the very soul of what India should be. These weren't just debates, they were all-out battles.
And maybe the most explosive fight was over caste. Dr. Ambedkar, the man who was the chief architect of the Constitution, was absolutely determined to tear down centuries of oppression. He championed Article 17, a law that would just flat-out abolish the horrific practice of untouchability. But you can bet he faced huge pushback from conservative members who thought it was just too radical.
Things got so heated that Dr. Ambedkar basically threw down the ultimate gauntlet. He threatened to resign, to walk away from the entire project if this basic human right wasn't guaranteed in the Constitution. And you know what? He won. It wasn't just a win in a debate, it was a moral earthquake that legally freed millions with the stroke of a pen.
And then, as if that wasn't enough, came the language war. I mean, this was a deeply emotional fight that could have literally split the new country right in half. Supporters in the North were adamant that Hindi should be the one and only national language. But the southern states, they saw that as an attack on their own ancient languages, their own cultures. The compromise they hammered out. Hindi is an official language, but keeping English as an associate was an incredible piece of diplomacy that kept the country from fracturing.
And get this, something that's absolutely mind-blowing is how far ahead of its time the Constitution was on women's rights. While some people were arguing that women weren't ready to vote, the framers made an incredibly bold move. In 1950, every single adult woman in India got the right to vote. Just to put that in perspective, that was decades before women in some established Western democracies like Switzerland got the same right. Think about that. 1971 for Switzerland. It was a radical statement of equality. So, the big question was, how do you make sure this new, incredibly diverse and fragile democracy doesn't just fall apart in a few years? Well, they built in 3 brilliant safeguards. Think of them as the super strong pillars holding the whole thing up. So check out these genius moves. First, federalism. They split the power between the central government in Delhi and the states. Why? To make sure no one person could ever become a dictator. Second, they created a balance between fundamental rights and duties. It basically says, yes, you have freedom of speech, but you also have a duty not to use that speech to start a riot. It's freedom with responsibility. And third, judicial review. This gave the Supreme Court the ultimate power, the final say to strike down any law that went against the Constitution. They made the court the ultimate guardian.
Okay, now let's just talk about the sheer scale of this thing. The numbers alone are just, wow. To really get how massive this effort was, you have to see it by the numbers. When it was finally adopted, India's constitution had 395 articles. 395. Just hold that number in your head for a second.
Because the U.S. Constitution has 7. Just 7. That contrast tells you everything.
This wasn't just a list of principles, it was an incredibly detailed, exhaustive blueprint for running a gigantic, complex nation. They left almost nothing to chance.
I mean, the stats just keep coming. It took them almost 3 full years. They held 165 formal meetings. They debated more than 2,000 amendments. And maybe the most amazing part? The original document wasn't typed or printed. It was a work of art, painstakingly handwritten in gorgeous calligraphy over 6 months. Every single word was crafted with that much care.
But even in this moment of incredible achievement, Dr. Ambedkar gave this kind of chilling and hauntingly accurate warning. He knew that creating political equality on paper was one thing. The real grinding struggle would be to achieve social and economic equality out there in the real world. And that's a struggle that is very much still going on today.
So, all this amazing history brings us to the most important question of all. Why does any of this matter to you? Right here, right now, in your day-to-day life.
The answer is simple. It has literally everything to do with your life.
Every single one of these rights that we might take for granted, they are a direct gift from this incredible document. The right to speak your mind, to practice whatever faith you choose, to vote for who leads you, and so critically, the right to take the government to court if you think they're wrong, it all comes from this one source.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The Constitution isn't some magic spell that works on its own. It's a promise written on paper. And a promise is only as strong as the people willing to stand up and fight for it. Its survival, literally, depends on us.
So, next time you see those Republic Day celebrations, remember what it's really about. It's more than just a holiday. It's an annual reminder of our job, our collective responsibility to remember that the power of this nation starts with 3 simple words: we the people.
Because this wasn't just a historical event that ended back in 1950. No, it was the starting gun for a revolution on paper, a project to build a more just, more equal country that is still unfolding every single day.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question. Of all the freedoms, all the protections that this document gives you, what is the one constitutional right that you, in your own life, are most grateful for? It's something worth thinking about, not just on Republic Day, but every day.